Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claude and the Bansters. And this is our review the Premier League show. We've got 3 guests with us, and now they complete our match for the Premiership. We've got all our representation now for the Premiership. We have got Ben, who's a Southampton fan from Total Saints podcast. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, not too bad, Terry. Nice to join you in the chaps.
Yeah, nice to have you, mate. We'll get down to it in a minute. We've also got Dan Wiseman, Aston Villa fan from a part of the Art of the Alt. Is that right, Dan?
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, glad to have you, mate. And we've also got Diyar, who's a Crystal Palace fan from Back of the Nest. Is that right, mate?
Yeah.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. We've also got my fellow Bansta with me, the good-looking one, Diesel. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I love it when you say that. I get a buzz every time. Yeah, all good. Thanks, Tel. Yeah, just massive, just a thanks to DR, Dan, and Ben, gents. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. And hello to everyone in the chat room. Hope you're all well.
Just to say to everyone in the chat room, hello. Hope you're all well. Welcome back to our regulars, AV, Alex, Gunaslava. Here he is, and here's the big man, Claude. How you doing, Claude? Can you hear me now?
Here's the pretty one. Look.
Yeah. How long is this going to last? Well, let's give it a go anyway. If not, let's go.
Problem, it's good to have you back. Good to have you back. All right, let's get down to it. Let's delve into the teams and the supporters that we've got. Let's start with yourself, Ben, from Southampton. Give us a little update of how your team have coped through this pandemic, and what do your fans expect for the rest of the season, Ben?
Yeah. So I think obviously, like most of the clubs, Terry, it was a fairly quiet sort of period initially. They were all doing their various sort of training from home. Unlike your rivals, they managed to keep themselves out of trouble, so that was good. And I think really as the weeks have sort of progressed, they've got back into training now. So they've been back at Staplewood the last couple of weeks. Again, I think I had the chance to speak to Danny Ings a couple of weeks ago. And he was sort of saying that there's a lot of confidence around that they can make this work in terms of all the precautions they've got to take and those sort of things. So I think players are confident that the club will look after them, and hopefully that will be the case across the Premier League. In terms of Saints, we were saying just before we went on air, I mean, they're kind of in that sort of no man's land at the moment where we're 14th, we're 7 points above the relegation zone, but we've got quite a tricky run of fixtures to the end of the season. Having followed Saints 30-odd years, Terry, you can never be too confident about them sort of fly into safety. So I think it'll be a bit of a roller coaster, but probably a couple of wins should be enough. Obviously we've got Arsenal in that run as well, so we'll have to see how that game goes. But yeah, an interesting few weeks ahead, I think.
Yeah, no, it will be, Ben. Just while you were speaking about it, let's get this up so we can all see. And that is where are we? You're running for the rest of the season. Where is it? So you've got to play Arsenal, which is going to be that's no points for you, unfortunately, Ben. You've got Watford, you've got Manchester United, Bournemouth, Manchester City, Everton, Sheffield United, and Brighton. You said, it's quite an hard running, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And we got Norwich away first game back. So it'll be interesting to see a few of those sides. I guess the likes of Brighton and teams like that, may well be safe by the time we play them. So you kind of wonder what pressure will be on. But I guess the way the Saints are going to look at it is that, they're going to go to Watford, they're going to go to Goodison.
Sorry, I'm missing from that fixture.
Yeah, they got Norwich first game of the first game back, Claude. But I guess the thing is, Terry, that they're going to go to those away grounds without any fans. So that might, we're all going to have to get used to how that's working. And
yeah,
I think there's been a lot. Yeah, and there's been a lot of analysis, I think, around the Bundesliga, hasn't there, with teams winning away from home and things like that. So, tricky run, and I don't think we can be too confident. So, it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
Well, unfortunately for you, Ben, and Dan and Diyar, I mean, we played Charlton in our friendly the other day and we won 6-0. So we're flying at the moment, you know what I mean? We're in a big role now, and Arteta's our manager, so everything's all rosy in Arsenal then. So I'm only joking, boys, but just looking at that, you have got a few hard games there, Ben. So what is the feel of your fans at the moment? Do you think you can stay up?
I think, as I say, I think in terms of, having supported Saints for a long time, we're used to sort of, the roller coaster Terry. I think it's never an easy life. Most of us started with long hair when we started following them. We are where we are now, that sort of thing. But
you know what I mean?
I think the thing is, Saints are a really unpredictable side. Obviously, Dan's on the show. We've beaten Villa twice this season, but there's teams like Burnley that have struggled, Newcastle that have struggled. Both those teams have beaten us twice. We should have beaten you lot at the Emirates. Obviously, Lacazette scored in about the 128th minute or something like that. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the thing with Saints is they kind of, when you think they're going to win, they'll let you down. When you don't think they're going to win, they'll often pull a result out of the bag. So it's really hard to predict.
Yeah. Claude, what do you think of how Southampton have done this season? Claude?
Oh, that bad? That bad?
No comment.
Really, Claude? Stephen, let's go to you.
Trying to remain polite.
Blimey, how am I going to top that? No, listen, do you know what? I feared for your manager, right, when you took that 9-0 loss at Leicester. I think we all did, if we're honest. They stuck with him, and I think you've turned it around. They look like they're playing for him. Listen, 9-0 was a freak result. What I did like was the fact that you went to their place in their backyard and obviously got your revenge. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's one thing I've always liked about Southampton is your academy. You've got a very good academy. I don't know if it's a lack of money or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Diesel. Obviously, he's just signed a new 4-year contract. You guys probably would have seen that during the week, which is great news. The problem Saints had is they got Claude in, they got Maurizio Pellegrino in, they got Mark Hughes in, they sacked all of them. As a club like Saints, you can't keep sacking managers and all the money that comes with that. We literally offered Mark Hughes a 3-year contract and then sacked him 3 months later. So, it's just a waste of money. And so I think you have to realise that the squad has needed an overhaul for probably 2 or 3 years. So it doesn't really matter which manager you get in. You're going to have the same group of players, but you're spot on there about the academy. It's something that hasn't really produced. Dan will know he's been watching Matt Target this season. That's a lad that came up through our ranks. We sold him last summer, but there hasn't been many players coming through from the academy. So one of the things that Hasenhüttl has been doing during lockdown is putting together what's been called the SFC playbook. And it's really a strategy that the club are looking to introduce from under-9s right back up to the senior squad to start getting players coming through the system again, because, we're not on Arsenal. We can't go out and pay 30, 40 million pounds for a player. We need to create and generate our own players again. And they're hoping that I think this 4-year period with Hasenhüttl now will see that start to kick off.
Yeah. And do you know what I was just going to say as well? That comment by Sammy. Sammy, listen, it was an embarrassing result. I totally get that. On the flip side, though, what I would say, we got spanked at Old Trafford by Man United 8-2, right? Yeah. Does that make Arsene Wenger a bad manager?
Yeah.
You can look at it. You can look at it both ways, can't you?
No, exactly. How did you feel, Ben, about Van Dijk?
Yeah, obviously he was a quality player when he was with us. I think it's been a little bit unfair on Saints because I think he's turned into this world beater only in his time at Liverpool. But the fact was, when he left us, he was a £75 million player. That's what we got for him. So I think Saints deserve more credit for developing him in the Premier League. Ronald Koeman was obviously our manager then than they maybe get him. But look, we didn't like the way he left. There's a few players that have gone to Liverpool that have kicked up a stink to get their move, but. He's a world-class defender, and he's obviously going to go on and win a lot of trophies, probably at a bigger club, arguably, than Liverpool. So, fair play to him. And to be fair, Terry, we've not replaced him. We've let so many goals in the last few years because there's no communication and organisation back there. He's kind of the player that we've missed the most.
Yeah, no, I go with that, Ben. Claude, can you hear us now or not? Claude? No, he can't hear us. All right, let's move on to you, Dan. Let's look at the Villa... your remaining games. Let me just get that up, mate.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Let's get that up. We don't want that one. Villa games.
I think we've still got to play you guys as well at Villa Park. So that'll be interesting.
Here we go. You've got Sheffield United, Chelsea, Newcastle, Wolves, Liverpool, Man United, Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal, and West Ham. That's just as bad as Southampton's running, I think.
Yeah,
Dan.
definitely.
And what's your take on your fans through this pandemic, and obviously what's your ambitions for the rest of the season? What can you do?
Well, the ambitions are pretty straightforward. We've just got to try and do all we can, basically, to stay in the league. The fixtures are going to be really hard, and so we've just got to try and capitalise on, where we won't have fans in the ground, and perhaps that will work in our favour, going to some of the bigger clubs. We've still got to go to Anfield, and so the prospect of going there and playing in an empty stadium is probably a little bit nicer than having to go there and deal with that crowd on a match day. But as a club, during the pandemic, we've actually been pretty badly affected. So Dean Smith, our manager, lost his dad to the coronavirus in a care home. Pepe Reina, who we got in January, had the virus and suffered really badly from it. But then on the other side, what it's allowed us to do is see John McGinn, who we lost in at Southampton at home to a fractured ankle earlier on in the season. It's allowed him to come back and complete his rehab, and it looks like we'll have him back in the side. And he's been so crucial to us, and we want to see him linking up with Jack Grealish, who has obviously been all of our hopes have been pinned on him this season, really. And so it's just a matter of how those key players can come back into the side. If we can get McGinn and Grealish and Ali Samata, who we signed in January to replace Wesley, who got injured as well, has looked pretty good. He obviously scored in the Carabao Cup final against Man City. And so it's really just on like key players, and the likes of Mings at the back as well. I've really got to try and step up and just drag this team over the line. It's going to be really hard given that run-in, but we've just got to try and stay hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good, does it? I mean, you're in second place from bottom at the moment. You got the game in hand, didn't you? Against Sheffield United. That's going to be an hard game. This first game starting not next Wednesday, next Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need 3 points, didn't you? You need to start off big, really, and get the 3 points under your belt, and then see where you can go from there, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. That game's crucial. I think it really dictates how the rest of the season looks for us, because if we can go into that game, and if we do get a win, which Sheffield United have been a great side, but they're newly promoted just like us. We got results against them down in the Championship, so it's not completely out of the question that we could go and win that game. It's going to be really tough. But say if we do go and take 3 points from that game, the rest of the season looks a lot easier if you can go and pick up points in a game like that. I don't want to pin all the hopes on that one game and say that's really do or die. But I think from a mentality point of view, especially with it being at home, if we can go and get a result in that game, I think going to the next ones, it looks a little bit brighter.
Yeah. Where did Claude go? The intelligent investigator said he's just trying to sort out his internet. Unfortunately, he's having a bit of trouble with it. He can't hear us, so we will try and definitely get him back. So just bear with us a second. So let's get on to the main question then, Dan. Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
I mean, I do rate him. I think he's a great player. I would love him to come to Arsenal. I think he's a gritty midfielder. He runs for 95 minutes, and it's exactly what we need in our midfield. How do you rate him, and how do your fans rate him? And will you be gutted to see him go if he does? Sorry, go on,
Dan. Sorry, Dan. Before you answer that, right? So I just want to say, because we're quite split on this, because I'm not a lover of Jack Grealish. I think he's very overrated. I like John McGinn.
Yeah,
I would rather take John McGinn out of the two. So it'd be interesting for us to hear from a Villa fan just what your take is on it.
Well, it's really funny you say that, actually. So up until the first couple, so we had Spurs away on the first day of the season, and John McGinn scored first in that game, and he had a really good start to the season. And up until sort of September, October, I thought John McGinn was going to be the man. I thought that he was performing better than Grealish, and I thought John McGinn was our star player. McGinn obviously then picked up that injury, and it's since then that Jack's obviously with the captain's armband really picked us up and put the team on his back. It's been a shame for him, really, because of the lack of quality that we've got around the team. He's been pushed out on the wing, so he plays off the left now, as opposed to in centre mid, where he's definitely best. And I think in the second half of this season, his performance have petered off slightly, but I think that's because he's playing out of position. But John McGinn has potential to be definitely just as good as Jack Grealish has been for us. He's only 23 as well, which I don't think a lot of people realise. He's performing really well for Scotland on an international level as well, and he's such a throwback player. He really gets stuck into games. He's your typical box-to-box midfielder. Creates so many goals, and that left foot of his is an absolute wonder at time. And yeah, I think the both of them, when they link up well, especially when they're both in centre mid together, a lot of teams aren't used to handling that kind of physicality. And as I said, when they're both on the same wavelength, for Villa fans especially, they're some of the best players I've ever seen play for my club, definitely.
But you didn't answer the question, Dan. Who is better? I'm going to
have to, as a Villa fan, he's Villa through and through. I'm going to have to take Jack, but we'll have to
you're out of it, mate.
No, listen, take sentiment out of it, right? Yeah. I know his dad or his granddad played for Villa. I know he's Villa man through and through. Take that out of it. If you had to pick one, and bear in mind, McGinn had that injury. If he'd never had that injury, because for me, he was outperforming Grealish when he was playing. He was your man, in my opinion.
Not as good as Gordon.
I think.
He's back. Look.
Yeah, no, they're both being class. Choosing's almost impossible. But if I had to take one, taking a moment. No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think you can
Gordon Cowan.
You know you're not saying McGinn, Dan, didn't you? Come on.
I can't do it. Given the chance and everything, I'm taking the captain.
Yeah, well said. I agree with you, Dan. I agree with you. Claude, can you hear me now? No, I can't.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Guardiola, come on.
Just quickly before we go on to Diyar, what's your thoughts, Claude, on Southampton's performance this year and Aston Villa's?
Well, Claude ain't been that bad.
What can I say? It's absolutely shocking. Can you hear me, Claude?
On my nerves now. What the fuck's wrong with this? Hey, go carry on, mate. What was you saying?
I was trying to say, give it. No, he can't hear me.
All right, it's not funny anymore. It's not funny. This is going in the minute.
Yeah. Can he hear you, Diesel?
Claude, can you hear me? Yeah.
No, you can't hear any of us.
No.
All right, let's.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Diyar. Diyar.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear Diesel.
You can hear me, Claude. Go on.
All right, ask him what he thinks of Southampton and Aston Villa. Yeah,
Claude. So basically, Terry was asking you what's your take on.
I can hear you. So what's the problem here?
I reckon he's got a leg, you know.
He's got a massive leg, I think.
Claude, what's your take on both Southampton and Villa this year? What's your take on them two?
No, it's not having any.
This is going to be a long stream.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, Diyar, let's move on to you, mate. Crystal Palace. Let's have a quick look at your run-in for
Southampton have been very inconsistent. They ran the spot like.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
We can hear you, Claude. We can hear you. Go on, we can hear you.
Nah, right. Yeah. Let's get your remaining fixtures up. Here we go.
Dear, we will come to you eventually, bro.
No worries. No worries.
You've got Bournemouth, you've got Liverpool, you've got Burnley, you've got Leicester, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Man United, Wolves, and Tottenham. So you're the only team that's on tonight that still hasn't got to play us, mate. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, I mean, when we faced Arsenal this year, it's been all right under Hodgson. I mean, the first game was controversial, of course, at your ground. But looking ahead to our fixtures, I'm not really that worried, because you look at the opponents. Yes, they are hard, but when you look at where we are in the league, oddly enough, I think we pretty much survived. So what we're looking at right now is weird, because the season has been so up and down in terms of consistency, but we're only 6 points off Europa League positions, which it sounds wild, and many Palace fans don't believe it, but that's what we've really got to play for here, and the only Premier League money as well. That's really it. So I'm not really that worried when I look at the fixtures. We've got no pressure going into these games. We've loved playing against Liverpool in the past. We spoiled Gerrard's last game. We spoiled their league title hopes last time around. This ain't going to happen again, even if we beat them. But I'm looking forward to the game. That's it. I'm looking forward to it. No pressure on us, really. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That game you're talking about, that was a 3-3 game, wasn't it? You was losing 3-0 at half time, and then you come back. I mean, what a great game that was. I mean, you must have been ecstatic with that.
The atmosphere hasn't been top since then. 3 goals in 9 minutes. And considering that we just got promoted to the Premier League that season, I believe it was that season, and you go and do that to Liverpool side at home, it was fantastic. And seeing Suarez cry literally in front of me, it's still in my head to this day. I mean, it's one of the greatest moments.
So what's your expectations for the rest of the season then?
So as I said, I think realistically, top half, that's our main aim. But if we go on a good run, which will be hard, as you mentioned, the fixtures are not easy, then the European spots are there to be taken, especially when Man City are not in European football. But it is going to be very difficult saying that. So I think Hodgson has said it himself. I think we want to finish top half in the Premier League. But overall, I'm not really that fussed with anything apart from playing European football. If we get European football, that would be nice. But of course, Hodgson is looking for top half.
Yeah. Right, let's move on because there's a lot of talk about, obviously, Zaha, especially with Arsenal fans. You know, a few Arsenal fans wanted him over Pepe. To be honest, me
Can
personally,
you hear me, Terry?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear Claude.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's a big delay between me coming to you.
I don't know why that is. There's obviously some sort of problem in your area, I think, because obviously everyone else ain't too bad.
Well, mate, Claude, can you hear me?
Yeah, because I'm here. I can hear you, Diesel.
Yeah. It's just Terry, isn't it? It's just, yeah.
Ask him what he thinks of Zaha or Pepe.
Claude, what do you think of? I feel like the middleman here. Claude, what do you think of Zaha and Pepe? Pepe, yeah.
Yeah,
no, both very tough. I woun't mind having both in the team, but to be honest with you, but Pepe's is it's hard to say. He's just getting into the English game at the moment, so it's hard.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Before we go to Diyar, Diesel, Zaha. Would you like to have had Zaha, or are you glad we got Pepe?
No, listen, I do like Pepe. I've always said I've said it so many times on here, and numerous times. He needs a season. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are writing him off too quick. Bear in mind, he's been here less than a season. He's had no pre-season, and he's played under 3 different managers. I mean, come on. I think what he needs is a little bit of consistency. He needs things just to be normal. And I think he needed a season to settle. He's come from a totally different league. It's a lot, it's a lot more fast-paced over here, a lot more physical. So I think we'll see the best of him next season. As for Zaha, it's an hard one, really, isn't it? Because if you look at the way we want to play, quick on the counter, I think Zaha's probably ideal for that. I don't think he's as good as what a lot of fans are making out. But I will saying that. What can we say? Every time he plays us, he destroys us. You know what I mean? But what I will say, the thing that we need, we don't have any players who can sort of dribble and take a man on. Zaha is among the best at that in this league. If we're being honest, he is. And I think if the way we want to play, that fast, fluid football on the counter. If I'm honest, in this league, I can't think of many better players than Zaha who can do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would. I'll take him.
Diyar, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
I think overall Zaha is a better player. Pepe has got potential, but one thing with Zaha that many fans don't consider is that he gets triple teamed most games because he's that good, and teams know that. So he hasn't got the freedom to play the football at Palace. If he comes to a side like Arsenal, I feel like Zaha would have flourished because you can't go and triple team Zaha now. You can't even go double team him because you can easily pass it out to likes of Aubameyang and the others. So I feel like at Palace right now, he's doing the best he can. And this season has been a weird season for him because he hasn't got the goals and the assists that many fans would have expected. And I think even he would have expected. So overall, I'll take Zaha over Pepe. I haven't seen enough of Pepe, of course. But yeah, I feel like Zaha his game can be a bit underrated at times.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dan, what's your thoughts on Zaha?
I really like Wolf. I think there's a sort of similar situation where sort of with like you can liken him to Grealish in the sense that, you know, he's the fans' favourite. He's you know, supported that club and he's been there through thick and thin. I think definitely in terms of Pepe's obviously got the higher ceiling. You only have to look at his age. I mean, Wolf's now, is he 27, Diyar? Something like that?
Yeah, 27, 28 this year.
Yeah, and so obviously Pepe's got the highest ceiling in that regard, and I think you guys will definitely get the best out of him. I think, especially with players coming in from the league, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to him. But no, I do really like Wolf. I think, as you said, he's had a bit of a weird season in that we haven't normally seen the numbers that he puts up, but the quality's there, and especially out on that wing. You know, if you stick a couple of players on him, you can pin him up against the touchline, and he doesn't get into those key areas quite as often. But the quality is there for seeing. I think even if he does give his twilight years to a club in the top 6 or something like that, I think we'll see some good stuff out of him.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I think the thing, you know, I think you can't doubt that he's a very talented player. I totally agree with Diyar. I guess the thing that you sort of think about maybe watching him as a neutral now is his temperament. You know, I think, you know, from our point of view, you know, I know Diyar will probably remember this. James Ward-Prowse, there was an incident with James Ward-Prowse down at St Mary's last year when Zaha lost his temper and got sent off by Andre Mariner. They then carried it on again this season when we played them up at Selhurst Park. So I don't know if that's kind of stopped bigger sides maybe looking at him and sort of thinking, you know, is he sort of player that can come into that squad, you know, top 6 squad, and has he got the sort of temperament and the mentality for it? Because, you know, he's undoubtedly got the skill. I guess it's just maybe more about what goes on between his ears, possibly.
I think he's got. I understand where you're coming from, and he has struggled in the past. People look at United and talk about his attitude, and he actually talked about all of this in Rio Ferdinand's latest podcast. He went on there the other day, but even Zaha knows this, and it is annoying to watch at times. But he does let players get to him, and we saw it with James Ward-Prowse. We've seen it with many other teams, even this season. I mean, towards the end of the Palace versus Arsenal game, David Luiz as well, he got involved. But that's the thing. Teams know this. Teams know that Wilfried Zaha can get easily agitated, and I'm not blaming him because everyone reacts different ways, you know. But he's actually come out, I think, after the Burnley game earlier on in the season, and he's talked about this. He said how he knows how teams are going to target him, so he decided that he's not going to take it personally, and he has slightly calmed down this season. That has been the main positive about his play, because sometimes, as I said, players do get in his head. And that's one area of the game where he needs to really improve on the mental side of things. Don't let players get into your head. Don't let the ref get into your head. But I feel like as the season went on, he's realized it. He's spoken about it. And I feel like he's improving on that side of the game. And that will make him a better player in the long run.
Yeah. We've got a super chat here from Zane. How you doing, Zane? Hope you're well. He's put Diyar, Zaha is joining us.
He said I think he talked about the Arsenal rumors. He talked about the Arsenal rumors on the podcast, and he said that he was flattered because he actually supports Arsenal. He doesn't support Palace. He grew up in this area, grew up in Croydon, but he's an Arsenal fan. And I think the main reason why the Arsenal transfer didn't happen in the first place was not the fact that Palace didn't want to sell him, but I think it was Arsenal's offer. I heard how Arsenal wanted to pay in installments. I'm not too sure how true this was in 5 years for the 80 million, and Palace wanted more cash up front. So it seemed like that was the main downfall of it, and it affected Zaha because he actually handed in a transfer request on the final day of the window. So he didn't go into the season in the most positive mind of frame. But Zaha would have been at Arsenal if the financial situation suited Palace a bit more.
Yeah. No, totally.
Do you know what? Sorry, can I just say? I just wanted to say, all right, in Zaha's defence, I mean, what I will say is the general, consensus is when you play Palace, Zaha's their top boy, right? You stop him, right? You've more or less shut Palace out, right? So there is. I get what you're saying about when they sort of, put 2 or 3 men on him, right? Because he can't do it on his own, right? So obviously, when he's having a poor game, you look around and you think, who else is going to step up and do the business? And also, Zaha is an Arsenal fan, and I'm sick and tired. I say it all the time. We've got players who don't give a shit about playing for us. At least he is an Arsenal fan, right? So that tells me if we did get him, I honestly do think, right, it would probably thrive because he's playing for his boyhood club. It means something. The badge means something to him. Yeah. And I'd like to see more players like that. As you were saying, Dan, about Grealish, Aston Villa is in his blood, right? Whether or not I rate him or whatever, right? He plays for the badge, right? I think his granddad or whoever sort of played for the club, so he's ingrained in him. And when you got players like that, it does make a difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it does make a difference. But with Zaha, another positive is he supports Arsenal, but he stays in London. It gets underrated at times, but we don't really talk about players' personal lives. And his family's here, he's settled down in London. So if he moved to another London club, and I think everything played in his part. He's an Arsenal fan, it's another London club. He could have stayed at the City. He could have moved to another bigger club, and he could have won trophies there, most likely. Other than staying at Palace, that's very unlikely. So it would have worked out. But that's what I'm saying. I don't see it happening anymore because 1, the coronavirus, and 2, Arsenal haven't been the big spenders like that. I doubt they'll come and pay Wilfried Zaha the big money. But I think it would have worked out brilliantly for you guys. But the finances, money speaks in football.
Yeah.
Diyar, I want to come back to you in a second about Cahill because we've had a lot of comments about that. But we've got another super chat from Zane. He says, Dan, don't you think Grealish is overrated as he is English? United fans keep ranting about him, especially Goldbridge.
Yeah, I think, look, we as a Villa fan, I spend my life defending Jack Grealish, and so I'm pretty good at it now. I can understand. I think the problem is with Jack is that we saw he had that. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but he set the longest streak for consecutive Premier League appearances without winning a game when we got relegated and he first came into the side back in 2015, 2016. He went like 20-something games for Villa without actually being on the pitch when we won a game. He only scored like 1 goal that season. And so I think a lot of people look back at the Grealish that was back then, the kind of skinny teenager with the long hair. And, he got under a lot of fans' skin, I think, back then. But he suffered quite a bad injury when we were in the Championship. And this is when we had Dean Smith and our form just plummeted. We were like 13th in the league. We couldn't win for love nor money. But he went away. He put on loads of muscle. If you could look at pictures of him now compared to when he was kind of 19, 20 and playing in the Premier League as a kid, he looks so much bigger now. He came back, and his first game back, we beat Derby 4-0 at Villa Park, won 10 games in a row. He got punched at St Andrews and then scored the winner. And then we won the playoff final, and now here we are. He's been our captain the whole time. I can see why people do think he's overrated, because there are games, especially in the second half of this season, as I was saying earlier, where he sort of faded out a little bit. He doesn't favour playing on the wing as much. And I think, the League Cup final, all eyes were on him, and he had one of those games where he couldn't affect things quite as much. But I think people have got to stick with him. And I think when you consider the numbers that he's putting up, he's got like 8 goals, 7 assists or something like that in a side which can't score. He's been involved in like 40% of our goals this season directly. I think you've got to judge him ultimately on, whatever happens to it this season. I think it would be hard to keep Jack. And I think when you're seeing him play around players of his quality and, when he's playing around strikers who can finish their dinner half the time, I think people will see the talent that he really is.
Yeah, no, I get that. Diyar, quickly about Cahill.
Can you hear me now, Terry?
Yeah. Can you hear
me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Claude?
I can hear you, but how can you hear me? Can you hear me all right?
You're coming across loud and clear, mate. So if you just want to jump in whenever you want, we'll stop talking.
Yeah. We can hear you, Claude. We can hear you.
But what's your thoughts on Jack Grealish for Aston Villa, Zaha for Palace, and who do you think Southampton's best player is?
he's done very well, Greece. But the man that stands out for me at Villa is McGinn. For me, John McGinn.
Come on, Claude. That's what I'm talking about. Claudiola. Come on, Claude. Hey.
I like the guy McGinn, and I think it's really been more impressive than anyone in the Villa team this year. But
Workhorse, love him.
Yeah, Grealish, I think is good, but I wonder whether Grealish can perform at a big club. I'm not saying Villa are not a big club; they are a big club. But what I'm saying at a higher level. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. If he went into, say, Man United or Man City or Chelsea or something like that, wonder whether he could perform at that on that. And I know. But we'll see. Is that
Tony Rolfe, isn't it? Is that
Tony
Tony
Rolfe coming in with a comment?
Hello, Tony, you all right, mate? Tony.
This is our representative, guys. He jumped on the stream and all. Yeah, go on, Claude.
Yeah, but I think I'd like to see. Do you think he'll stay? I was going to ask. Do you think he will stay? Do you think he will stay at Villa next season?
I think if we go down,
I know he's a Villa fan.
Yeah, I think if we go down, obviously we're going to lose him. There's no debate in that. But I think if we stay up, we spent 140 million in last season when we came up. Our own, money's not a question. I think if we can promise him that we're going to surround him of players of similar class and try and work our way at the table and re-establish ourselves in the Premier League. Jack wants to play for Villa. He could have left when we went down into the Championship. We had 3 seasons down there. There had plenty of opportunities to try and force his way out. I think it's pretty clear that he wants to try and play for Villa, but he's got aspirations, and rightly so, of playing at the top level. And if we can make him the right promises and give him players where he doesn't feel like he's a big fish in a small pond anymore, I think we've got a chance. But Man United seems so keen on him. I think it all depends on whether they get Sancho and stuff like that. I think there's a couple of deals which might affect it, but it's going to be hard to keep him.
In fact, you're playing Sheffield United before we play our game, isn't it? That's a bigger game that night than our game, really, because that's really important at that end of the table. So what annoyed me, I remember the Tottenham game. Remember the Tottenham game we played at Villa Park this year?
Yeah. Oh God, don't talk to me about that. I can't speak.
Who was that defender that made that error?
Yeah.
Who was the defender that made that error?
Bjorn Engels. Yeah, that was terrible. That was
I couldn't believe that error he made.
No, 90 points on scored. Yeah, that was tough.
There's no way that Villa deserved to lose that game. You know what I'm saying? And they put a brilliant performance up at the Emirates. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought Arsenal were quite lucky to win that game. To be honest with you.
Yeah, we were.
And, so I think they deserve to stay up because, but we'll see. I think it's going to be between them. I've got a feeling it's going to be between them and Bournemouth for that final spot.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on, boys, I just want to quickly let everyone know that obviously, if you don't know what Hot Mic is, go to Google Play Store or Apple Store, download the app Hot Mic. Once you're there, enter our code CBS301. We're actually live on Hot Mic now. So, but with Hot Mic, when we do live watch-alongs on any games or UFC or boxing, you'll be able to put your link up your app to your TV or the laptop, and you'll be able to listen to Claude and the Bansta's commentary instead of boring old Mike Warren, Steve McManaman, or any of them boring old commentators on BT Sport or Sky Sports. You'd rather listen to Claude and the Bansters. So get yourself over there, download the app, and then put our code in CBS301. That'll sign you up to our channel, all free, of course, no money involved. And then while you're there, when you're signed up, go over and look out for Anfield Agenda. Give them a follow and all. Our Liverpool representative, fantastic guys, Craig and Connor. They've done wonders for us and helped us out big time. So everyone go over there and sign up before the watch-along start. Right, let's get back to it then, boys. Let's get rid of that for a minute. Ben, let's start with you. If you could take a player,
You was asking me also.
Sorry, go on, Craig.
Oh.
What? Sorry, Claude.
Did
What?
you hear my? Did you? I don't know whether you heard me come over about the Zaha and what was it, Pepe debate. And I don't know if you heard what I said. And I said, you can't really judge it yet because I think Pepe, it's his first season in, and he needs to settle in. So we might see the best of him next year. But I do rate Zaha as well. I think he's a terrific player. Maybe sometimes it's got to maybe stop the old diving.
Come on, Claude. Look, this is what I say. Look, I remember the incident. Was it last season when Xhaka, when he allegedly dived? And
No. Against us, I think that was a genuine penalty. I mean, he does dive a lot, though, doesn't he?
I can't agree with you. I'm sorry. Look, the diving situation, all I have to say is show me one time he's dived, then I'll give it to you. And that's what I say to any fan.
Diyar, if you're trying to hurt us, by mentioning Xhaka, mate, that's the wrong player, bro, because we hate him more than you do. I'll tell you.
I'm not even mentioning Xhaka because of I'm just saying, like, we had the incident, of course, with you, and Xhaka came out and he said how that was a penalty. But the thing with I just don't see him as a diver. I mean, yes, he can fall down maybe easily sometimes, but clear out diving.
Come on.
I'll just say bring the evidence. I haven't seen one video of him clearly diving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably biased as a Palace fan, but that's what we all say anyways as Palace fans. Show us a video of it.
That's fair enough. All right, let's get Ben. Let's start with you first. If you could take a player.
I was going to ask a question to the Southampton fan because I was Suarez. Cedric Suarez. How do you lot rate him down there? Because he's a lot of people saying this. What do you think of him?
Good question.
I think Diesel was going to ask the same, weren't you? I made some quick notes after you prompted me there. I think in terms of Cedric, it's hard to sound constructive without sounding bitter almost, but he's a proven international. He's played a lot for Portugal. He's a very experienced footballer. I think he's, off the top of my head, 27, 28, something like that, but he's played a lot of games still. The only thing I'd say about him, and you all know this, having seen him at the Emirates, is that he's not particularly big. Even though he's quite well built in terms of being muscular, he's not very tall, so he gets targeted a lot by opposition sides in terms of they will play balls to his corner of the pitch, particularly some of the more physical sides. We've seen a lot of goals go in, sort of headers at the back post that he's been out jumped and things like that. So he's probably one of those players that is better getting forward and creating goals than he is defending as a right back. It's certainly been someone mentioned Ryan Bertrand. I mean, when you compare those two, he's a player that can play really well going forward, Claude, and defend really well as well. He's got pace as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Cedric gets on. I mean, obviously he's not been fit until, now I think he's just started training with you guys again, hasn't he? So, I think he's obviously he's out of contract with Saints in the summer, so we're not expecting to get him back. But it's a position that we've not really replaced. But maybe he'll do better in a side that doesn't sort of suffer as much as Saints do in terms of teams attacking them.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Ben, let's quickly get through some of these questions that I keep missing.
He's ideal for us then if he can't defend.
You're fitting well, Claude. You're fitting well, Claude, with our defenders. Don't worry about that. So Ben, let's quickly get through these. Will Saints sell Olberg?
Massive delay. Me coming over.
Yeah, I think in terms of Højbjerg, he's got a year left on his contract, Terry. So, Saints aren't a club that can afford to let players just drift to a free transfer. They need to make some money on him. He's obviously just signed up to super agent Pini Zahavi in the last few weeks, so that's never a good sign. I think, to be fair, he's been rumoured, again, I don't really want to say their name on here, but the other team in North London he's been linked with. So, of course, we're probably going to have the whole levy factor. We'll set our price sale off at 10%, and then we'll probably be forced into selling him or something like that. So I think if they can get the right price for him, they're going to let him go this summer. Again, what the price is outside, as Diyar said, in terms of the coronavirus pandemic, we don't really know what the transfer market's going to do now. So, people are quoting 25, 35 million. If we can get that, then fine. Again, he's only 24, 25. He's played a lot of games. So, in answer to the question, I think if they can get the right price, they will sell him this summer, yes.
Excellent. Good answer with that other team down North London. Well done. You've probably gone up a little bit more with the Arsenal fans.
We don't allow swearing on this channel, Ben.
Diyar, how good has Cahill been this season?
I'll say this. Look, I've heard other Arsenal fans say it as well. Cahill should have been at you guys right now.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been tremendous for us. I didn't expect it. I mean, the season before, of course, he wasn't playing as much for Chelsea, so he's around 30. He's in his 30s now, so you're not really too sure if he still got with him. But he joined, and both on and off the pitch, he's been tremendous. Patrick Van Aanholt has struggled massively defending. Cahill's been that vocal leader right next to him, telling him what to do. You can see that on the pitch. And Mamadou Sakho, who's been so good for Palace, many Palace fans right now take Cahill over Sakho because he's been that good. He's been a brilliant defender for us, probably the most underrated signing of the season so far because of how vital it's been. And yeah, I feel like when we're talking about Arsenal as well, he should have been with you guys right now. If he was, then your defense would have improved massively because he's been a hell of a defender for us.
We should have bought him before he went to Chelsea when he was at Bolton. And Wenger had a chance of buying him, but turned his nose up at him like he has done most of the big players. And I can't understand why on earth we didn't buy him. And obviously, Dan.
Yeah.
Will Villa fare in a surreal relegation fight without fans?
It's going to be tough. Obviously, Villa Park's a big old ground. We can get 45,000 in there. When we sell it out, and it's really been useful to us this season. But what I will say is we've got players like who have come in from leagues. We signed a lot of players from Belgium when we came up. So Marvelous Nakamba, our holding midfielder, Wesley, our striker, Ali Samata, our new strikers, come in. All from Belgium. I don't think they're used to playing in such atmospheres, and the problem is Villa are a club, and the fans expect a lot, and I think it can sometimes weigh a little heavy on players. You can see when we're playing at Villa Park and we go a goal down, and the fans sort of get on the players back a little bit. So they sort of go into their shells a little bit, and so I think it might work in our favour in some games whereby players don't feel that immediate pressure of 40,000 fans screaming and shouting at them, and so maybe I'm being a little optimistic here in saying that it might help us out. But hopefully the players just feel a little bit more relaxed. And I think players like Douglas Luiz, who's obviously come through at Man City, we haven't really seen his best, and he's a bit of a flair player. And so hopefully, if he can feel a little bit more confidence and big games are going to feel like training ground matches at the end of the day, and I think that could actually suit some of our players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want to quickly shout out to Tony Rolf. He said he's got a new laptop starting from next week on his channel. So everyone go over and give Tony Rolf a follow. He's our Chelsea representative. Right, Ben, let's get on to it. If you could pick a player from Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Arsenal, what three players would they be, mate?
Oh, that's put me on the spot.
You don't want to swap with my one, does he?
I'd absolutely say Grealish. I think, I do totally agree with you guys on John McGinn. I think he was fabulous. And as Dan mentioned, he obviously got injured against us when we won up there in the season. But yeah, I think even when they were in the Championship, Grealish for me was just a player that stood out. And in terms of Saints, we've really lacked someone in that sort of creative role. I mean, Danny Ings, you guys were talking about local lads. He's obviously a Southampton lad, very much wears his heart on his sleeve for us. Will always hit the back of the net, but there's not many players behind him to really sort of put the balls through to him and create goals. So Grealish from Villa. In terms of Palace, we probably need some defenders. So I would actually say, I was talking earlier about we've not replaced Van Dijk with the organisation and communication, that sort of thing. Cahill's probably the perfect example. I know he's getting on a bit now, but he's probably a player that would stand out and be able to do a job for us. In terms of Arsenal, probably Pepe. I know you mentioned him earlier. I mean, he's obviously a young talent. From what I've seen of him, he's obviously been fairly inconsistent, but I know it's his first season, really, isn't it? And he's clearly got potential. He's obviously got a very, very nice left foot. Incredibly, and this is an interesting stat, once we sold Matt Targett to Villa at the start of the season, Ryan Bertrand is the only left-footed player we have in our senior squad, which for a Premier League side is incredible, really. So I think I'd probably bring Pepe in for that reason, Terry.
That's astonishing, because you shot me there, because everyone else that we've had on has said Aubameyang. And
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he's obviously a great talent, but again, you guys know him better than I do, but he obviously started the season really, really well and then tailed off a bit, and he started playing left wing, I think, didn't he, and that sort of thing. So, he's a great talent, like Lacazette, but he's just not necessarily a player that Saints would need at the moment, I don't think.
No, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Just before we leave you with that, Chadwick Moffat with a super chat. He says, does Ben Ray Cedric Soares? He is a legit starting right back. I know he starts for Portugal, and I think he'd be the best choice for Arsenal.
Yeah, again, I mean, he's not played for quite a while. I mean, it must be 6 months. He was out injured when he joined you. Obviously, as I say, he's just come back training. So he's not, it's going to be hard for him to get back up to speed in the Premier League, I would have thought. Plus, he's playing for a new team and a new atmosphere. So, look, as I say, he's consistent. He's a 7 out of 10, minimum sort of player. But I do think opposition sides, he's been in the Premier League now long enough that opposition sides know to target him.
Blimey, if he's a 7 out of 10, I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you the last time Bellerin was a 7 out of 10. Can you, Diesel or Claude?
No.
No.
On the catwalk, yeah, but not on the football.
Super chat in there.
No.
Yeah, we've done that. We just done that.
There's a super chat in there.
Yeah, we've just done that, Claude. The super chat. We just done that.
Yeah, we've done it, mate. We've done it.
Yeah, we've done it.
What, from Chadwick?
Yeah, we've done it.
Yeah, we've done that one.
Dan, same question to you, mate.
Yeah, I think actually from Southampton, Ben, we paid you 17 million for Matt Target, and I'm wondering where the rest of him is, to be honest with you, because that fee seems unbelievable based on what I've seen from this season. We actually had Ryan Bertrand on loan from Chelsea a few years back when we had Paul Lambert, before we got relegated, and I absolutely loved him at Villa Park. He was so solid. It seems like you've been impressed with him, and I'd like a bit of cover because we've got Neil Taylor as our backup left back at the moment. So I would like Ryan Bertrand. From Palace, I think you'd probably be pretty happy to sell him to us, to be honest with you. But just on an emotional sense, the things I do see Christian Benteke back in a Villa shirt would be, that would be beautiful, man. I miss that guy. And we were linked with him in January when we were looking for a new striker. And I really do feel like we could get the best out of him. Again, I think we find his mojo back, and hopefully we'd. I mean, in terms of Arsenal, I feel like it's probably a bit easy to say Aubameyang or Lacazette or someone like that. But one player I'm interested to hear what you guys think about him. Actually, is Dani Ceballos. I quite liked what I saw from him at Real Madrid and stuff like that, and I feel like he's a player that I'd love to see in one of my teams. But I don't really feel like you guys have seen the best of him. But yeah, it's a player that, as a kind of neutral, I don't get to see too much of Arsenal. Sort of, as I said, kind of came in. We haven't heard too much about him, but I do like what I've seen from him before he came to you guys.
Okay, Diesel, I'll let you answer that in just a sec. Tony, we will get to that question in a minute, mate, once we finish this round of players. And good to see Sophie in the chat. How you doing, Sophie? She's our Manchester United representative. Hope you're all well. And she put, Dan, opinions on Grealish to Man United rumours.
Yeah, I think that's the club that we've seen him most linked to. He loves, he's quite vocal about how much he enjoyed watching Man United as a kid. Whenever he plays at Old Trafford and stuff like that, he always updates his social media saying how much he loves playing at that ground. He scored a great goal at Old Trafford earlier this season, where he smashed one in the top bins. That seems to be the club. If you ask me where he'd most likely go to, I could see that happening.
Arsenal, you said, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah. But yeah, as I say, I think the United one is dependent on a lot of things. I think the fact that they've got Bruno in perhaps limits that, because I think that they play in the same position. And I think if you're keeping Pogba and you have Bruno, I think wherever Jack goes, he's going to want to play first team football. And I think when you've got those two players, you can't guarantee that. But yeah, if they go and splash the money on Sancho or whoever, I don't think Grealish is perhaps their first choice. I think if they did miss out on Jadon or someone like that, they'd go in for him. But yeah, I think with Bruno having come in, it perhaps removes that as a landing spot for him.
Yeah. Diesel, getting back to Ceballos.
Yeah. No, Ceballos, he's a good player. He is a good player. I just haven't seen enough. if I'm honest. And the way I judge it is, our defence is shocking. We all know that. For me, our midfield is worse than our defence, all right? And when you've got a midfield as bad as ours, and in my opinion, Ceballos hasn't really stood out in a poor midfield like that, which is the worst I've seen in my lifetime as an Arsenal fan, I can't help but think to myself, is he worth paying the money for? And I think if for what Real Madrid, I think before this pandemic, it was around about maybe 50, 60 million. And obviously Arsenal being as tight as we are with this self-sufficient crap. If that's the case, then obviously we can't afford that. We need to obviously be a lot more wise with our money. If it was 30 million, I'd probably say, yeah, take a punt. But look, he's a good player. I haven't seen enough. I've seen glimpses. But in saying that, he's not really had a decent run. He sort of flits in and out of the team. Arteta didn't really play him. When Arteta, first arrived, he was out of the team for a while, and then he got brought back. I think the last few games he played, he was playing well. Actually, I'll give him that. I think he just needs a bit more time. But for me, Dan, all the rumours are saying that his heart is in Real Madrid. And for me, as he could be a great player. If your heart isn't in it, I don't want you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Claude, can you hear me? I know you would like to keep Ceballos.
Yeah,
You would like to keep Ceballos, wouldn't you?
yes, I'd rather keep him, but if it's going to cost too much money, well, it's not worth it. But if it's a good price, I'd keep him. Yeah, it's worth it. As a squad player, I'd keep him. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot worse at Arsenal at the moment that need chipping out.
Oh yes, Claude, there is, mate.
Damn straight.
Diyar, coming to yourself, mate. 3 players from each of our squads, mate. Who would you take?
All right, from Southampton, I'm taking Danny Ings. I feel like he's been on form at Southampton this season, and we do need another striker. And from Villa, I'm just going to go all attacking because I'm imagining this side will work with Zaha in it as well. So I'm taking Jack Grealish from Villa because he can play anywhere in the front. So he can play behind the striker, he can play out wide. So Jack Grealish can have that role up there. From Arsenal, I'm not too sure. Aubameyang is the simple answer to say, but I haven't, you guys haven't seen Ceballos as enough as well. But a player like Ceballos would be brilliant. I feel like he's got great talent in him. He hasn't got that consistent run of game, just like Max Meyer at Crystal Palace. Someone mentioned him earlier on. He hasn't had a run of games. So I feel like if he's got a run of games in the Premier League, he's got the technical abilities, and if you put class players around him, I feel like he could do it. So I'll take Ceballos as well in midfield because I feel like he can control the game well.
That's fair enough. That wouldn't be a bad Crystal Palace side with them 3 players, and it makes you quite a good team here, mate. I tell you, to be honest.
But no, Hodgson, you play them all defensively. You make Ceballos left back.
Don't talk about defensively. We had one of them managers not so long ago, and thank God he's gone.
Oh,
I ain't even going to say his name. Claude, if you could take 3 players from the teams below, who would they be, mate?
Interesting. Aston Villa, I'll take McGinn. I like McGinn. Palace, I'll take Zaha, and I'll take Southampton. I'd like Danny Ings. So if you have to give me one from Southampton.
Okay. You, Diesel?
Because I think he'd make a good squad player for us. I think he'd be a good squad player for us. I'll take Danny Ings, John McGinn, and Zaha.
Okay, that sounds good. Claude, what about you, Diesel?
Do you know what? Before I answer this, I just want to say, right, and this every time we've done a Premier League review with all the representatives of the other clubs, it amazes me how we have the supposed best number 10 in the world, and not one rival fan has mentioned Ozil.
I was going to mention him, but then I was like, let me not bring him up. Yeah, I was going to. No, but he hasn't really played as much. Like this season, I mean, before under Emery, he felt like he was out of the team and stuff. So that's the thing. I haven't really seen much of Ozil. I think he's still a great player. I think his contract with Adidas is finishing as well, something like that. He's had some problems on and off the pitch with that attack in London as well. So yeah, I think he's still a very good, technically gifted player. But I got Jack Grealish instead of Ozil, and I thought, let me get Ceballos.
Terry, am I right in saying that these guys are they're the last three of the? After this, we've got a representative. We've had a representative from every other team in the Premier League on.
Who told you that?
Am I right in saying that?
Well, yeah, of course you're right, mate.
Yeah. And not one has picked Ozil. Says it all, doesn't it? But anyway, I digress. Right, so I'll start with Southampton. I've always liked Ryan Bertrand. I think he's a very good player. I'm surprised a proper big club hasn't gone in for him over the years. I just think what I like about him is very consistent. He just says 7, 8 out of 10 every game. I do like him. I also, Ben, I'll tell you something. I also like Redmond. The only thing is with Redmond, I think he's a very good player, but it's like he doesn't know it. Right? He sometimes doesn't play to his full potential. I liked it when Guardiola confronted him at the end of the game to basically say, last year you destroyed us. This year you played. I know obviously a lot of that was probably down to the manager's tactics, but there was definitely a player in there because some games he turns it on, but in other games he goes missing. If I had to pick out of the two in terms of in my opinion, what Arsenal are most in need of, I would probably say I would pick Bertrand, sell Kolasinac. I'd have Bertrand and Tierney. And you've got two quality left backs. Aston Villa, John McGinn all day long. I love McGinn. Very underrated player because he's not got a foreign name.
I'm not having played.
He gets overlooked, right? In my opinion, he gets overlooked. If he was a foreign player, they'd all be raving about him. I think he's a very good player and he's got a higher ceiling. But also, I really like Tyrone Mings. I do like Tyrone Mings. I'm not going to lie. I like Tyrone. Out of the two, I'd say our midfield requires more surgery than our defence, so I'd probably go McGinn. But if I could take the two all day long. And Crystal Palace, I'd probably say Zaha, although your midfield, Mihalovic, is that
Milivojevic? Yeah, Milivojevic.
Again, I don't think I think he's underrated. I think he's not a bad player.
He hasn't actually been playing as much. Like he has, but he's actually underperformed this season, oddly enough. It's been a weird season for him. He fell out with the Serbian national team manager, and then he hasn't really been himself this season. But he's slowly coming back to it. But there has been lots of Palace fans. Yeah, I mean, it's better than, I don't blame you.
Better than what we got.
Yeah, you got Xhaka. Like he's better than Xhaka still, but you could still aim higher. But
you are better than Xhaka, mate. It's like you over him all day long.
No. But yeah, he's a decent player. He's a good penalty taker. But yeah, he's been a bit weird this season for us.
Yeah. So Zaha, but you know what? There is a shout for Cahill. There is a shout for him.
I just think that you should have got him. Yeah.
I think, me personally, I'll take Zaha from Palace. I'll take Jack Grealish from Villa. And I quite like Ward-Prowse from Southampton. I just think he's got a great engine. And they're the sort of players we need at Arsenal at the moment. We need players that are going to run for 95 minutes. If you've got players like that, then you've got half a chance of winning the game.
Great at set pieces as well.
Yeah.
Very good at set pieces. Yeah.
To finish that off. All right, Ben, start with you. Where do you think Southampton are going to end up this season?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Sorry. Sorry. Can we answer that question that Tony was saying? He wanted that answered.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly finish this off, and then we're going to get onto that question. Just quickly, Ben, where do you think Southampton are going to be?
I think, touch wood, Terry, I think they'll just do enough. I think, we're 7 points clear of the relegation zone, 27 points to play for, a couple of wins. If other sides lose, I think we should be okay. So I think they're finished probably where about they are now, 14th, 15th, something like that. They'll just do enough.
Excellent.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, mate. We keep our fingers crossed for you too, mate. Dan? Oh, we lost your voice. We can't hear you.
Wait a sec.
Oh, there you go. You got excited then, didn't you?
Am I back again? You got me.
And we can hear you, mate.
So, I mean, what kind of fan would I be if I didn't think we were going to stay up? I've got to be optimistic. To be honest with you, lads, as long as we're above that red line, I don't care. That was my expectations coming into the season, was that if we stayed up, doesn't matter how, doesn't matter where, I'll take a 17th place finish every day of the week.
And fingers crossed for you too, Dan, hopefully. Diyar.
Top half finish. I think that's the realistic aim right now. As I mentioned, we're not that far from European spots, but it's going to be very hard for that to realistically happen. But yeah, I think top half, Roy would be happy. The players will be happy, and I can see that happening realistically.
Okay, boys. All right. Right. Let's get back to Tony's question then. Claude, you can kick it off. What do we think about Tottenham borrowing 190 million from the bank of England? Go on, Claude.
Well, if they pay it back, it doesn't matter, does it? They're borrowing it. I don't see any problem with it. But what I do see a problem, if they start splashing 120 million pound on players, then our questions need to be asked. But other than that, I wouldn't see any problem with it at all.
Okay, Diesel.
But
sorry, go on, Claude. Go on. I thought you was finished. Go on, mate.
No, it's fine.
Diesel.
Well, nothing surprises me when it comes to Tottenham. Listen, what can you say? I get what Claude's saying about, they're borrowing it, they're going to pay it back. My argument to that is, you're owned by a multi-billionaire. Says it all, really. Why are you doing that? Why'd you put your staff on furlough? They're just not a classy club, Tel. So my opinion on it is, I'm not shocked. It's Tottenham style. That's how they do it. Hence why they'll always be below us, mate, in terms of class. Not in the league, but class.
Yeah, but what you don't understand, Diesel, they have the capabilities of paying it back. It's not like they can't pay it back. It's just a loan, and they have to pay interest on it. So it's a loan that they can take out. But the only thing I can say is that they can't really justify spending that money in the market, spending a lot of money in the market. But we'll see. But then again, I'm looking at that financial fair play. If Man City get off on that, if they actually get off on the charge, I think that's not really valid anymore. That will be totally invalid. That will be made invalid because it means nothing. And if Man City get off with that 2-year suspension, it won't mean nothing if they get off with it.
But ain't just a question. Ain't they already borrowed money to another 500 million to help build the rest of their stadium? So they've borrowed that, and now they've borrowed another 190 million.
I'm not sure if they borrowed it or whether the money's gone down. I don't know. Did they borrow it? I'm not sure. But if they did borrow it, yeah, fair enough. But then you can borrow it. When you've got to realise the business is worth in the billions, isn't it? The business is worth that, so they can borrow against that. So they're entitled to borrow against it because of the value of the business.
I think the question is, what's the reason why they've borrowed it? What are they planning to do with it? Is it
it's like Kroenke, if he wanted to do, even though he's got 4 billion now, he's got 4 billion. If he wanted to borrow off the government, he can do that because he's got the money behind him as security. So there's no stopping it.
Let's get these boys' views on it, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Claude. It's business, isn't it? It's money's used in different ways these days. I think Diesel's point about the furlough is absolutely spot on. Why would you look to do that if you're then going to start borrowing money and all that sort of thing as well? Yeah. So there's a few clubs, I mean, Saints actually were the first club to come out and say that they were going to start deferring wages. They weren't going to put anyone on furlough. I was really proud of that, actually. And I think there's a few clubs, Liverpool lost a bit of class, Bournemouth lost a bit of class through this process. So, yeah, it'll be interesting, as you say, if Spurs now come and spend 35 million of that on our captain, Claude's spot on. There should probably be questions about it.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's this kind of crisis and everything that's happened is going to take massive financial effect on clubs, right from the Premier League all the way through the leagues. I think from what I've seen about it, Spurs had sort of concerts and everything planned at their new stadium this summer that they've obviously had to cancel, and they're going to lose a lot of money through that. And so, I mean,
they had the AJ, they have an all, yeah.
And so they said that from what I've seen, they said that it's not going to be spent on players, but wouldn't surprise me with the way that anything to get one leg up in the Premier League these days, and you hope they stay true to their word, and it's just a kind of to balance the books. But yeah, as I said, I think clubs of all statures have been finding it tough financially.
Yeah, Diyar.
Yeah, if
you've got to understand, we're going with the new stadium, and they're not being able to, because they had the American football, wasn't it, supposed to be played there as well? Yeah. They're losing a hell of a lot of revenue. So they're losing a hell of a lot of revenue. So I suppose that's what's covering. That's what the loan is covering.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, it might be.
As I said, maybe they are justified in getting the loan, but then, having said that, they cannot justify spending 100 million in the market if they do that.
No, you're right, totally right. That'd be disgraceful. Go on, Diyar. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. If it's for that reason, if it's to balance the books, then you understand it. But yeah, I didn't know. I just saw that they got I think 109 million pound loan. I just saw that and I didn't really read into it, and I was a bit shocked as by it, because you look at Tottenham, they're meant to be one of the big clubs in the Premier League, and the fact that they're borrowing loans, how comes clubs like Palace can hold their firm? But as you said, they had lots of concerts and they had the American football, which is cancelled now. So it makes sense. It makes sense for them to borrow it just to keep a balance.
Also, it's like any other business. Any other business is borrowing from the government, isn't it? Because they've been closed down by the government.
Yeah.
So the government are paying other businesses. Why shouldn't they be entitled to it? You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
they bring a lot of money as well.
Yeah,
and it's a different style. Yeah, exactly. So even though I heard McDonald's is back now, so that's good news.
Sorry, I'm just going to say just very quickly, right? As on the flip side of that, I mean, you guys, what's your opinion? Because for me, as a result of this pandemic, is it fair to say that this pandemic has showed just how poorly run some of these clubs are? I mean, if you look at Bournemouth, I think 88% of their revenue is it TV? TV revenue accounts for 88% of their revenue. And you think, that's scary. That is scary. Do you know what I mean? And as soon as the furlough was out, I mean, some of these clubs rushed to it. Yeah. We said on here, but I don't agree with that, because furlough was put in place for people who need it, not want it. Right? There's a big difference.
I think that's a great point, Diesel. I think in terms of Saints, Saints are 70-75% turnover goes on their wages and stuff now. They've paid lucrative contracts to, you think of Fraser Forster, people like that, they made their top earner, and he's up in Celtic. He's not even getting a game for us. But I think, you don't want to see any football club go bust. And unfortunately, I think, some of the lower leagues aren't as lucky as maybe we are now to be in the Premier League, where it is all about the money. But I think the sooner Saints could get back on the pitch, they were one of the teams quickly to try and vote, support getting it back, and as soon as possible. I think for that reason, it's TV revenue money to them now is massive.
Yeah.
For Palace as well during the coronavirus pandemic. No, go ahead, Claude.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, because sorry to interrupt you. The internet is really bad at the moment. No, I can see about, if this carries on, if the pandemic carries on, I can see about 20 or 30 clubs going out of business. At the Football League, going out of business. I really can in the next year or two, because I don't think they can cope with it.
Yeah. Talking about the Football League, I think League One.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Talking about League One, League Two. I think one of my friends, he plays for Colchester, and they've actually released players already, and they have to basically do is get money from fans, and they can't do that when no fans are coming in. So I think the whole football structure, especially from Championship down below, needs to change in one way or another, because I think the Championship spends more money on players than it brings in. So it's all over the place. But for Palace, as I was saying, we've actually announced that we're building a new academy place, and we've already started works for that. And I think Ben said it with Southampton, 78% of our wages, 70% of our revenue goes to wages. So we can't sustain that in the long run. So we've actually decided that we're going to go ahead with academy. We're starting to build a new academy training ground separately from our first team with new facilities, and we've also looked at the stadium. There's going to be expansion at Sellers Park, and our capacity is going to go to 32,000. And that's if for teams like Palace, the Southamptons, and the Villas, you have to look at other avenues, and academy is one of them. We've seen Zaha, Nathaniel Klein, Victor Moses, all these players that come from the academy, and we have to just make sure that we focus on them. And that's what Palace are going to do now, which is positive.
Yeah. Right, boys.
Sorry, right?
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Tel. If there's one good thing to maybe come out of all this, I'd like to see clubs a lot more reliant on their youth. The youth academy, because I mean, if as Southampton, as I said earlier on, I mean, you've got a great youth academy, very well renowned. Of I could name top players as you can, Ben, who have come out of your academy. Every club who we support here, we've all got academies, right? And they're just not used enough, right? They're not used enough. And I know it's obviously there to make money, and it's been abused over the years. And I do feel sorry for these youth players, because there must be some gems down there that could in turn save clubs millions if they're just given a chance. So I'm hoping that with obviously money being a little bit tight for all the clubs, it's a perfect look at Chelsea this season. Frank's had to, but look, all the kids he's played, they look like they're going to be really good players. They just needed a chance, and they've taken their chance. And in the long run, they're probably saving Chelsea millions. So I think we need to, get back to doing that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, boys, we've got nearly an hour and 20 minutes now, so we're going to wrap this up quickly. Just want to thank everyone in the chat. You've been absolutely brilliant tonight. Always very loyal to us. We really appreciate it. I want to thank you boys for coming on.
Easy hand, I am on that.
Claude and I, we're going to Thailand in the next couple of months.
I want to big you boys up for coming on and being our representatives. Ben, give yourself a shout out, mate. Tell everyone where they can find you, mate.
Yeah, sure. So you can find us on Twitter at Total Saints.
Oh, what's that, Claude?
I might as well be in bloody Thailand with this internet.
You can find us on Twitter at Total Saints Pod, and then we're on the normal podcast channel, iTunes, Spotify. Just look up Total Saints Podcast.
Excellent. And yourself, Dan?
We're on Twitter at Heart the Holt. Check out the Villa Filler podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Anchor, SoundCloud, all of them. Go check it out.
Excellent. And Diyar?
Yeah, it's at Back of the Nest for us. Palace podcast. We also release videos on YouTube, so you can check out our YouTube channel. It's just backofthenest.com. You can check out our website as well.
Brilliant, guys. Just want to thank you for being our representatives. And like I said, come the new season, really, because I don't think we'll have a chance with this season with all the football that's going to be played. It's going to be on every night. We might do. We'll try and fit it in if we can. What we wouldn't do going forward next season is that we'll pick a couple of games over the weekend that are either the best games or a bit of controversial, and we'll get them use representatives on to talk about the games, like a bit like Monday Night Football, if you know what I mean. So we can have a bit of banter and all.
Also, we'll be covering our game, and if one of you lot are playing us, we'll be having you on. Right, that'd be brilliant. It'd be fantastic.
Only if we win, though, boys. Only if we win.
And if we don't get your cut, you're fat. That's
I do apologise for my horrible reception tonight, but thank you, boys, for coming on. I really appreciate you boys coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, lads.
Nice one, cheers.
Just want to say a quick shout out for our What Mike. So if you go to the Apple Play Store and Google Play Store, download What Mike, use our code CBS301. That will sign you up to our channel, all free, and you'll be able to listen to Claude and the Bansters commentary. Live. What's that, Claude?
So I'll be downloading something tonight. I'll tell you that for sure.
And I just want to say, watch out for our show, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we'll be doing 3 or 4 big announcements with stuff to do with our channel and the way it's going. We've got 3 big announcements to make, hopefully 4. So please join us for that. And we'll be live again probably Wednesday. So look out for us. And until then, just want to thank you boys for coming on. Thank you, Diesel and Claude and all. And it's time for you to do your thing, Claude.
Yeah. It's definitely time to go.
Go on the Claude.
Thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.